Oh man, I wish I had more mats to keep going with the testing, because honestly I had a good amount of time getting all of this data. Some of it is very jumpy, mainly around ascending your character to the next tier, but aside from that there is some good data here. So I had two friends this go around. I didn't want to bother Jeffrey, since he has been gone after playing catch with his neighbor Gary. So I went down and found some street thug Frankie. He really didn't seem happy to see Noelle. I also had a very angry Rimuru cosplayer. Both of them were handy in testing for damage value scaling, and there's a few things that I found surprising. First, I want to get a few things out of the way before we dive into the data. Frankie was a level 48 and the Rimuru cosplayer was 46. These damage values will change against the higher level enemies you come across, but from my experience with most games, the ratios will remain the same. I also only utilized 3-star artifacts because I wanted something easier to enhance instead of going crazy with grinding out for 4-star artifacts, where only the values would be higher. Somewhere in between, the values of a 4-star and a 5-star artifact will eventually overlap and exceed the values I collected, so you should only expect better performance for higher rarity artifacts. I have a chart that shows my raw data that I collected. It may be jumbled here or there, but if you want to take a closer look at what I was doing and how I got there, feel free to check it out in the link down in the description. Now that all of the disclaimers are out of the way, time to get to the 3 wonderful days I spent watching Noelle take damage from Frankie and a Rimuru cosplayer. In the beginning, we started her off at level 20. I was going to start her off at level 1, but I had already leveled all of my characters up to the first ascension wall because I was bored. So all the data is starting at the base value from level 20, and a measly 172 base defense. As you would expect from a no artifact character, a level 48 and a level 46 enemy hit pretty hard against a level 20 character. Our base damage taken was 835 from Frankie and 254 from the cosplayer. Frankie would nearly half Noelle at that level, so naturally we had to run away from a thug. The cosplayer wasn't much of a threat though. I wouldn't be seeing any major damage reduction until I had the 2-piece set bonus from Defender's Will, kicking that damage Frankie did from 835 down to 733. That's when I started to really think that defense does a good job at keeping your characters alive, because with only 298 defense, I've already reduced the damage taken by 12.22%. But the next major increase in damage reduction came when I got all of Noelle's artifacts that raised her resistance to level 6. And I also gave her a defense substat claymore and leveled that up to 40. And then I ascended her. Leveling up your characters and ascending them will give you a giant boost to all of your base stats. With the defense artifacts up to level 6, a defense substat weapon up to level 40, before I ascended Noelle, her damage reduction was up to 18.56. After ascending her and leveling her up to 25, the damage reduction soared to 28.74. There was literally no changes to her equipment. It was strictly her level that got her up to a full 10% reduction extra from 20. Slowly yet surely, Frankie and the cosplayer were hitting Noelle for less and less, while the damage reduction was constantly going up for Frankie, only plateauing when Noelle hit ascension walls. The curious thing was that the angry cosplayer stopped giving such big decreases in damage reductions towards level 45. At level 45, I had equipped Noelle with a full 4-piece set of Defender's Will, which gave her a flat 30% elemental revs, versus an enemy that shared the same element as somebody in your party. And I maxed out my party to include different elements, so there was that extra across the board 15% elemental res. At 45, there was a reduction of 71.65 damage, and comparing it to level 60, which only had 77.17, I really started to see depreciating returns when it came to adding to the defense stat, but this was only against elemental damage, which the bulk of that was reduced by the elemental res stat. It was also at level 45 that Noelle started receiving diminishing returns from the damage she was taking from Frankie. Granted, not in the same level as the cosplayer, but there were definitely lower damage reduction per point of defense. It was nowhere near the level of the cosplayer. Honestly, it could have been anything, because at this point, there were so many factors in play. I'm just sticking with the base damage numbers, and if there are any hidden factors, like level of enemy versus level of your character, it seems like those should be printed somewhere. I ended my testing at level 60 because I wanted to keep everything consistent like a normal player would play through the game. Keeping the weapon level up to snuff with the character level drained me of all of my resources. So either I was going to stop at 60 willingly, or the game was going to laugh at me. Either case, ascending both Noelle and the weapon still gave me some good bonuses, even if I can't level them right away. At level 60, Noelle had 1,439 total defense. The damage reduction that I calculated versus Frankie was 64.43%. Against the CODS player, 77.17%, obviously with the help of Elemental Res. Officially, after my few grueling days of testing, I can say that defense does matter. If you take a look at the spreadsheet that I have linked in the description, you can compare your character's total defense to Noelle's total defense and realize how much damage you're actually taking. You'll see YouTubers left and right advocating no HP or defense substats on artifacts, but I feel like those stats are essential, especially for high level play in either high adventure rank play or in the Spiral Abyss. Either way, defense definitely matters, and whenever you get a substat of a defense percent on your artifact, I would highly suggest keeping it. Not a single one of my artifacts had a substat with defense percent on him, so honestly you could only guess how much more damage resistance there would have been if a few of my artifacts had a defense percent substat. Thanks for reaching the end of my video. This was my biggest project to date, as there was a lot of data and a lot of things to plan out. I really enjoyed playing Noelle, and I have a plan to actually dive deep with her build. I'd like to put together a retracting Bolide set for her, as I feel it would make her a very good all-rounder and solidify her as a permanent member of my main team. Future Editor Hex here. I just wanted to chime in and say that I just hit Adventure Rank 40. This caused a big dent into my progression resources. I still have over 20 fragile resin that I plan on using on artifact domains. I've got a few ideas for my next video, which should be up next Saturday and or Sunday if I decide to make more than one video. One will revolve around the Retracting Bolide set, and the other around the Bloodstained Chivalry set. If you are enjoying my videos thus far, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to be updated on my future videos, go ahead and subscribe. As a fresh channel, every bit of your support helps. Thank you again for watching, and I'll be happy to see you in my next video.